Hey, what's up everybody? This is Mike. Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to talk about the DJI Mavic Mini and all the important steps you need to take in order to get this drone up in the air as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So if this is your first ever drone, you've never flown before, then this video would be perfect for you. However, if you have been flying drones for a longer time, you might want to skip this video as it's geared towards the beginners out there. But with that being said, let's get right into it because there is quite a lot of information to cover. So we are going to start with everything you get in the box with the Mavic Mini. As you can see, I've laid everything out on the table, and that's everything you get in the package with the Mavic Mini. And we'll go quickly through all of these accessories, but please be aware that this is the regular package of the Mavic Mini. If you get the Fly More combo, you get a few more batteries, you get a battery charger and a few more accessories. So please be aware of that. You might have different accessories depending on what you have purchased. So first things first, let's start with the charging cable. That's a micro USB cable, and you need to use that to charge your batteries, which are right here, but we'll get to that in a second. You have 4 extra props, which are quite handy to have with you at all times because it's very easy to break the propellers on the Mavic Mini. So being able to easily replace them is a crucial step when flying the Mini. You also have these 2 additional control sticks, and these are also very important to have with you at all times because the ones that are stored in the remote controller could be very easily lost. You also have this mini screwdriver for changing your propellers if you break them and you need to change them. The next thing which you're going to see are those 3 data cables, and these cables are used to connect the remote controller to your phone so you can see what the camera of the drone is seeing when you're flying. And you have 3 different ones. You have one with the lightning connector for iPhones, you have micro USB and USB-C connector. So regardless of what device you're using, you will be able to connect it easily to the remote controller. Speaking of the controller, this is it. It's quite straightforward. It doesn't have a lot of buttons, so you won't get confused on how to use it. It's very small and compact as well. And on top of it, you have a couple of buttons. You have the button to start recording a video. You have a button for taking a photo. You also have the antennas, which you open like so. And you have the gimbal wheel. That way you can easily control the pitch of the gimbal, so you can rotate the camera going up and down, and that's how you do it from here. Let me close the antennas real quick and I'll show you. On the back there is nothing. On some other DJI controllers you get customizable buttons, but here you don't have anything, as well as nothing on the bottom. On the front you have the return to home button, and you press this button, the drone will go back to its home point. You have the power on button, which when pressed once will show you the status of the battery, and when you press it once and then press again for a longer period of time, it's going to turn on. When you open the controller, you will see here the control sticks. This is where they sit, and that's how you install them. You simply twist and there you go. Now the controller is ready to be used. You only need to put the antennas like so, and then you need to install the cable. In my case, I'm using an iPhone, so I'm going to connect the cable with the lightning connector. So here on the side you have the micro USB connector, and this is how you connect the cable to the remote. And then you simply need to adjust this cable so it goes here on the side, and this is where you put your smartphone in the middle and you connect it to the remote. So in order to do that, I like to keep this cable in my hand so it doesn't go anywhere, and then I just put the phone in and I squeeze this a little bit so I have better precision and better control with my phone, and that's it. Now let's leave that to the side for a little bit and let's focus on the drone for a second, because this is arguably the most important part of the setup. So this is the drone itself. As you can see, it has the gimbal cover, which I will remove for now so you can see the camera. And this is a 3-axis gimbal, which keeps the camera steady, and it's a big upgrade compared to the DJI Spark, which had a 2-axis gimbal. So now whatever you do, the camera will stay very stable, and the camera itself is capable of shooting at 2.7K at 30 frames per second and also at 60 frames per second in 1080p. So that's quite nice for a beginner drone. On the front, you might think these are sensors, but they are not. These are just vents for cooling down the drone. On the bottom, you are going to see the power button, which is the same as the remote. If you press it once, you will see the status of the battery. If you want to turn on the drone, you press it once and then you press for a longer period of time, for a couple of seconds, and the drone will power up. But for now, we won't do that as we have a couple of things more to cover. These two sensors here on the bottom are the visual positioning sensors. These pretty much keep the drone stable even without a GPS signal, so that's quite convenient to have. You can fly the drone indoors without any problems because of these sensors. On the back, you have this LED light which blinks in different colors depending on the situation, but this is where it is. Here you have an SD card slot and you have the charging port here on the left. The door for the battery is right here, and if you want to open the battery slot and remove the battery, you simply need to slide it out by pushing this little button here on the bottom of the battery, and that's pretty much it for the battery compartment. If you have more batteries, that's how you remove them. Once again, it's quite easy to do. Make sure when you close the door, it's securely closed, because you don't want to have your battery falling down in the middle of a flight. So that's quite significant little detail that you need to take care of. On the side, you don't really have anything that important. You have the Mavic Mini logo here on the front left leg of the drone, and on the other side you don't have anything. When you want to start flying, you need to open the front arms first and not the other way around, because if you start with the back ones, you will see that you can't open the front ones. So you always need to start from the front, and it's really easy to remember: front and then back. Before we get any further, this is the SD card that I'm using with this drone. It's a SanDisk Extreme V30 32 gigabyte micro SD card, and when you want to install it, you simply need to put it with the graphics up and put it in the slot, and then make sure it clicks, and it's ready to go. Now the drone will recognize it, and if you're using it from another device, you need to make sure that you format this SD card in the DJI Fly application before you start using the drone. Otherwise, it won't be able to recognize the card and it won't save any files on it. So now that everything is ready to go, let me power on the DJI Fly app, and we'll go very quickly through this application to show you the basic things you need to know about the DJI Fly app. So this is the interface of the DJI Fly application. It's a brand new app which DJI has designed with beginners in mind, and it's quite simplified compared to the DJI Go 4 app, which has been the regular drone app for quite a lot of time now. But this is a brand new app made for the Mavic Mini. So let's start with the upper left corner here, which says Mode P. Mode P is basically positioning mode, and positioning mode is just a normal regular flight mode for any single drone. When you press it again, you are activating sport mode. In this mode, the drone is going to fly a bit faster, and it's quite challenging in other drones, but here it's just that. It's just going to make your drone a bit faster, and the reaction time of the sticks will be less. When you press again, you're activating Cine Smooth mode, or mode C, and in this mode the reaction time of the sticks is going to be slower. The drone is going to come to a complete stop slower. So once you let go of the sticks, it's not going to make a very sharp movement. It's going to keep going forward. So be aware of that. If you're close to any obstacles, that might be a bit dangerous. But generally, mode C, or Cine Smooth mode, is perfect for creating a bit more smoother, better looking cinematic footage, and I highly advise you to check it out, but in open areas where there are not that many obstacles in your way. The next thing we see on the screen is here, which says take off with caution, as there is no GPS signal. That's normal because we are currently indoors and there is no GPS connected to the drone. But if you're outside, you need to be aware if you have an error like this. Next, when you open this little menu, you are going to see some settings which you need to change, in my opinion, as quickly as possible. So auto return to home altitude, this is the altitude to which the drone will go when you hit the return to home button. And this is extremely dangerous because if you keep it at 15 meters, which is right now, you might hit a tree on your way back to the home point. So I would always suggest to change it to at least 50 meters. And that's going to save your drone from hitting an obstacle in its way when it's going back to the home point. Once the drone gets back to the home point, it will just hover at 50 meters, and then you simply need to press down on the left stick and it will go down to you. Here you can also set your max altitude, your max distance. You can set a limit if you prefer, or you can just slide it all the way to the right and set to no limit. Storage location shows the current capacity of the SD card. Mine is 32 gigabytes and it's 29.7 are available, and I have 26.5 currently available for shooting. Recording time remaining, this shows how much you can record until the SD card gets completely full, and you can also format your SD card from here. If I press on the screen, this menu will disappear. And here on this little side, we are going to see that we have 0 satellites connected right now, which, like I said, is normal because we are indoors. And we have 96% battery on the drone remaining. When you start flying, these little dots will turn into numbers and they will show you how much battery life you have remaining. And that's a rough estimate. It's not very precise, but it's a great idea to know how much time you can still fly before you need to land. Here I have activated my histogram so I can see how I'm exposing the image. As you can see right now, it's all the way to the left because I have very strong highlights here. Here we have the takeoff button, which if I press, I will need to press again on this takeoff button, and the aircraft will take off automatically to an altitude of 1.2 meters. However, there is one more way how you can actually take off, not only by clicking on this button, but also by pushing the sticks to the inside like so. And you see that the drone propellers are starting to spin. If you want to turn it off, you do the same maneuver and it shuts down. Here you have some data about your current height, your distance from the home point, the speed you're going at, and more data that you will see when you power on the drone and you start flying. Next, in the upper right corner, we have EV and AE. EV stands for exposure value, and if you want to underexpose or overexpose your footage, you can easily do it by sliding on these values here. So in some situations you might want to underexpose your footage a little bit if you have very strong highlights, for example. And as you might know, you can't adjust the manual video settings of the Mavic Mini, so this is something that gives you a little bit of a control over the camera when filming a video. So this is how you control the exposure value from this little slider here. As you can see, it changes quite drastically depending on which value you select. Another thing is the exposure lock, which is this AE and the lock icon here. If you lock the exposure, the drone will not adjust the exposure automatically. Let's just say you're filming the ground and it's quite dark, and when you adjust the pitch of the gimbal and you tilt the camera upwards, is going to change the exposure quite a lot, so it can adjust to the new light. However, if you press this exposure lock button, it will stay at the current exposure, it will not change it. Finally, we have the histogram, but that's a setting which I have activated from the menu, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. So as you can see, we are currently in video mode. So if I want to start shooting a video, I simply press the shutter button here or the video button right here on the remote, and the drone will start filming a video. However, if I press on this little icon here, I can select what resolution and what frame rate I want to shoot at. So currently I'm filming in 2.7K at 25 frames per second, but let me just change that to 30. And if I want to, I can easily go back to filming at 1080p. And here I have a lot more choices in my frame rates. So I can even shoot at 60 frames per second. So I can slow my footage a bit if I want to in post-production. If I go ahead and press quick shot, nothing is going to happen because I am not flying right now. You have to have the drone in the air in order to activate quick shots. And I'll demonstrate the quick shots in another video, so make sure you are subscribed if you want to see quick shots in action. But pretty much quick shots are predefined maneuvers that the drone is going to execute while following a subject. So you might want to select yourself as the subject, and the drone will make a couple of different maneuvers around you and record them and do all of this by itself automatically. Now let's go to photo mode, and here we have a bit more control. As you can see, we have this sub-menu which says single photo or timed shot. Single photo is just a basic photo which you can take, but timed shot is a bit more interesting because it allows the drone to take a photo every couple of seconds. So the minimal interval is 2 seconds. So that means that when you press the shutter, the drone will take a photo every 2 seconds until you stop it. And you can change that to 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, 20, 30, or 60 seconds. Let's go back to single photo. And here we can actually change the settings. As you can see it here on the bottom right corner, it says auto, but if I press on it, I actually have control over my shutter and my ISO. So if I change the shutter speed to a higher number, of course, the shot gets darker. And if I lower the shutter speed, I can go all the way to 4 seconds. So you can even do long exposure photos with the Mavic Mini. That's great for night photos, let's say. I'm actually quite interested to see how it's going to work in a night environment. And you can change the ISO from anything from 100 all the way up to 3200. If you press on this play button here, you are going to access your gallery, and here are all the photos and videos that you have shot, and you can download them to your phone and share them from here. Lastly, we have these 3 little dots here on the upper right corner, which are pretty much our settings menu. And here in the safety tab, we can already see some familiar settings that we already changed once we opened the DJI Fly application. Those are the max altitude, max distance, and auto return to home altitude. You also have the choice to update your home point, but you need to be flying in order to update your home point. Let's just say you take off from one location and you walk to another place and you want to land the drone at your new location. So from here you can simply press on update home point and set your current location as the new home point. And when you press the return to home button here, the drone will go to the new point. So that's quite nice. And next we have IMU, compass, and these I wouldn't advise you to calibrate them unless the drone tells you to, but from here you can actually start calibrating both of them. You also have the advanced settings, which will give you more information about how to stop the propellers from spinning, and you can choose emergency propeller stop anytime or emergency only. I would advise you to keep it at emergency only. And here you can also activate payload mode. The next menu we have is Find My Drone. If you press on it, you will see the current location of the drone. I don't want to press on it because I don't want to show my current address. But if you do, you will see where your drone is located, and you can actually make it start beeping. And that will easily tell you where the drone is exactly. So in case you crash, you can easily go into Find My Drone and activate this beeper so you hear the drone as well. In the control tab, you are going to see once again the switches between CineSmooth, positioning mode, and sport mode. So in case you want to change them from here, you can do so. You can change your units from metric to imperial. You can adjust the gimbal mode between follow mode and FPV mode. Follow mode is basically the smoothest setting available for the drone. and regardless of the position you set your drone to, it will be as stable as possible. In FPV mode, however, if you tilt the drone to the right, the gimbal is also going to tilt to the right, so that is going to follow the direction of the drone. It's not very smooth, so I wouldn't really advise you to use FPV mode for regular shooting, but if you want to check it out, here is where you activate it. From here, you can also calibrate the gimbal, which I don't want to do right now, but if you're experiencing any issues with your gimbal, you can just calibrate it from here. Next, you can change your stick mode, and I'm quite used to mode number 2, which pretty much means that you ascend and descend with the left stick and you go forward and backwards with your right stick. So you can adjust it from here if you want to use something else. You can calibrate your remote controller from here, but you need to power off the drone in order to do that, and you have a flight tutorial, which is quite useful for somebody who is completely new to flying a drone. The next step is camera, and here you can select your camera ratio. It can be 4:3 or 16:9. I use 4:3 because it just records more data. If you want, you can always crop it so you can make it 16:9, but 4:3 is what I use. Again, you see the storage information about your SD card, and you have advanced settings for your camera. From here, you can activate or deactivate the histogram. If you're not aware what the histogram is, you might want to switch it off, but I personally use it to see how well exposed my shot is. You can also activate grid lines, and I realize for now I don't want to use these grid lines. I only want to use this middle point, which is let me show you. This thing in the middle looks like a crosshair. You have overexposure warning. These are the zebras, which shows that this part of the screen right here where my light is overexposed. It's a bit annoying to have it, as you cannot control your manual camera settings, so I would suggest you to turn that off. You have video subtitles, and you also have cache when recording. Cache when recording is a setting which allows the drone to save automatically the video files to your phone, so you can easily share them from the DJI Fly application. And you can select how much memory you want to use for cache on your phone. The next tab we have is transmission, and here the drone is going to decide for itself. If you select channel mode to auto, the drone will decide for itself which channel to use and what frequency to use as well, in order to have the strongest signal possible. I wouldn't advise you to go to manual because you can mess something up. Lastly, we have the About tab, which shows the current aircraft firmware, the RC firmware, the FlySafe database, and all the different versions of our apps and databases, and your serial numbers as well. From here, you can check for updates for newer firmwares, and if there is a new firmware update, you can update from here. And that's pretty much it. Those are the settings from the DJI Fly application, and these are the things you need to know about the DJI Mavic Mini. Now it's your turn. It's time for you to power up the drone and go ahead and have some fun and fly with it safely. So that's everything that I have for you for today's video. Thank you so much for watching this whole walkthrough. It's been a pleasure. This is Mike from Drone Supremacy, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.